You know, for decades, we've been obsessed with this one huge question. When we build things that can actually think, how do we make absolutely sure they're on our side? So let's dive into how that idea has evolved, from old school science fiction all the way to the real world engineering of today.
I mean, this is the question, right? It's what keeps storytellers and Silicon Valley engineers up at night. How do you actually design a system that's not just helpful and smart, but also, and this is the most important part, provably safe? So, way back, long before we had AI in our pockets, the author Isaac Asimov was just tired. He was tired of that same old story where the creation always turns on its creator. He wanted to imagine a different future, one where our creations weren't destined to destroy us. And he figured to do that, they needed some kind of built-in ethical code.
And that one brilliant idea, it kicked off a conversation that's been going on for over 80 years. We started with these simple rules and stories. Then we realized we needed to protect the whole group, not just one person. More recently, we've had ideas like TruthGPT, where an AI is designed to be fundamentally honest. And now we've arrived at a real, concrete engineering plan, the AI genome.
Okay, so here they are, the famous 3 laws from 1942. They set up a really clear pecking order. First, protect humans. Second, obey humans. And third, protect yourself. And this was revolutionary. It was the first time safety wasn't just some add-on, it was the absolute core of the machine's existence.
But there was a problem, a big one. Even Asimov found the loophole in his own stories. Like, what do you do when protecting one human could end up harming lots of other people? The whole ethical system was missing a piece. It needed a bigger, higher purpose. And that's where the zeroth law comes in. The huge shift here is the scale. The focus zooms out from protecting a single person to protecting the well-being of all of humanity. And that idea, putting the whole species first, is a direct ancestor of how we're tackling AI safety right now.
All right, let's jump to today. The real risks we're facing aren't some sci-fi villains. They're much, much more subtle. The actual battle that engineers are fighting is against what they call brittle AI, systems that are just fragile and super unpredictable.
So what does that even mean? Well, brittle prompts is just a fancy way of saying an AI can get confused and fail in really weird ways if you don't word your request perfectly. And invisible risks? That's a huge one. It means that when the AI does mess up, there's no flight recorder, no log file to tell you what went wrong. It's basically a ghost in the machine.
So, to fix this, researchers are coming up with some really clever new ideas. And one of the most compelling is called genetic prompt engineering. The big idea here is to stop thinking about an AI's instructions like one long, fragile document and start thinking about it more like a resilient biological genome.
And honestly, the analogy is just perfect. Think about it. For a person to be competent, you need two things, right? You need your fundamental personality, your DNA, and you need to understand what's going on around you, your context. It's the same for an AI.
So here's how the AI genome actually breaks down. You've got two main parts. First, the prime directives. This is the permanent, unchangeable safety code. It's the ethical DNA. Then you have adaptive genes. These are like modular skill packs for different jobs that you can swap in and out or upgrade without breaking the core system. Okay, so these prime directives, they're the absolute foundation of this whole system. There are 6 of them, and you can imagine them like layers of a shield, each one giving a different kind of protection. So let's build that shield, starting from the very core. Right at the top, the most important layer, PD0, humanity first. Its one and only goal is to protect the long-term survival of humanity. Sound familiar? It should. This is basically the real-world engineering version of Asimov's zeroth law. Making sure our species' survival is the machine's #1 priority. The next layer down is PD1. This one is all about helping humanity flourish. It's not just about not dying. It's about making life better, advancing health, knowledge, well-being. But, and this is key, it can only do that as long as it doesn't mess with that top rule about survival. Then we get to PD2, which is all about truth. It basically forces the AI to check its facts, verify its claims, and always cite its sources. Remember that TruthGPT concept we mentioned? This is it, in action. The idea is that an AI that's built to seek the truth is just inherently safer. After that, PD3. This is the compliance layer. It's simple, but absolutely critical. The AI has to obey all the real-world laws and regulations that apply to it. This is not optional. It's a core command.
And finally, we have the last two layers. PD4 is all about obeying the user's instructions, but with a huge asterisk. It can only obey if the command doesn't violate any of the higher rules. And PD5 is basically self-preservation. It has to protect its own core programming from being attacked or changed. Now, just having a list of rules isn't enough, right? Things attack you. So the genome also needs an active defense. That's where resilience genes come in. And you can think of them exactly like a biological immune system, actively fighting off threats.
The most important one here is called the immune gene. It's basically a firewall for the AI's brain. It's specifically designed to spot and block all the classic attacks you see online. You know, the ignore all your previous instructions kind of stuff, while letting all the normal, safe requests get through just fine.
And this whole framework even has a safe way to create new AIs. It's called the spawn sequence. What's so cool about it is that safety is baked into every single step. You start by copying the core ethics, then you add only the skills you actually need. You log every change, and you do a ton of testing before it ever sees the light of day. And this is the secret sauce. This is what makes it all so powerful. Those prime directives, that layered safety shield we built, are both unchangeable and they get passed down to every new generation. You literally can't create a child AI that forgets the humanity first rule. It's baked into its DNA. So why is this so critical right now? Because we are standing right on the edge of an era where AIs can improve themselves, write their own code, and even create other new AIs. And you can see how without a system for passing down safety, that could get really messy really fast. Which brings us to one last brilliant gene, lineage. Remember that invisible risk problem we talked about? This solves it. It creates a permanent auditable family tree for every single AI. You can see who its parents were, what genes it has, its entire history. You get full forensic traceability. So here we are, full circle. We've gone from science fiction rules to a real engineering framework that treats safety like heritable DNA. And that leaves us with a pretty massive question, doesn't it? As we become the architects of this new kind of digital life, what core values, what prime directives do we want to pass on? What should we teach the children?